Hi everybody, it's Dee Reinhardt, and today is August 2nd, and we are going to start our community-based organization technical assistance webinar for the EPIC program. So welcome everybody. Please check in by agency. We do track this to see who shows up to the webinars, and we're going to start using it against you if you don't get there. So that's one good reason why we want you to check in. And all righty, so Olivia, shall we start out?
Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and go over our EPIC Enrolled Dashboard, and then we're going to go over the Istep Dashboard. I'm going to be covering the areas where we have customers starting to kind of pile up, and we need to get them moved out. Just so all of you guys know, the way the dashboard is set up is it kind of is a flow through the process the customer goes through in the EPIC program. But we also have things color coordinated, as you guys have seen just by looking through your dashboard. The green rows mean that everything is good and no action is required. And these green rows are the rows that go down to the next section. And so you'll kind of see these customers in the green rows are going to continue to move down throughout the dashboard. The red rows are where customers drop off. So we can see by this CBO enrollment verification status section that these are all the customers that dropped out of the program before being enrolled by the CBO. And then as we go down, we can see that these are all of the customers that have dropped out of the program or lost their SNAP after being enrolled by the CBO. And then we have the yellow sections. These are warning sections. These mean something needs to happen with the customer. Customers are not supposed to sit in these yellow rows. They're not supposed to stay here. So we mainly focus on these yellow rows in our webinar, but I don't know if we have went over recently those color coordinations for all of our new career navigators and CBOs. So I'm just going to start by going through the rows where we need to make sure we're getting customers moved out of. And the first row is this referral pending 2151 past due. So we have two customers whose 2151 was not uploaded within the first 48 hours after the customer's initial appointment with the CBO. If these customers did attend their appointment, you can go ahead and upload the 2151 with assessments completed or services initiated, depending on what you were able to get done during that meeting. However, if the customer was a no-show for that appointment or a referral rejected, the 48-hour deadline was missed. So it's up to the CBO to reschedule the customer to send them a new 2151 in the mail with their new appointment date, and then re-enter the new appointment date into the progress page, and then make sure that you upload that 2151 within the 48 hours after their second appointment, or you will have to do the process all over again. DHS cannot put customers through conciliation if they do not have that 48 or 2151 uploaded within the first 48 hours because it violates policy, and the customer can appeal the sanction and win. So they're not even going to go through the process of doing that when the customer is just going to be able to get out of it because policy was not followed. So it's really, really important that you're uploading that 2151 within 48 hours of the initial appointment. The second row is the referral accepted and enrollment started, enrollment required. We have 12 customers in this row who do have a 2151 with services initiated uploaded, but they have not been enrolled into a training program on the progress page. I know that sometimes the customers will come back for on another day for an appointment where you guys enroll them, so we understand there are going to be a couple customers in this row for a little while they're going through all the assessments and everything for you guys to determine if they're going to be a good fit. But just make sure that you're not forgetting to mark them as enrolled in a training program after you guys have engaged services. If the customer is participating in any activities or services, they have to be enrolled. So just make sure getting customers enrolled in a timely manner. The next row is the CBO needs to upload past due. We have 450 customers. You guys have until the 5th of the month to get these uploaded, so they're not past due yet. So I will not be including these numbers on the minute. But just make sure that you guys are going in this week and getting those 2151As uploaded for the prior month's engagement. So then they're all ready for whenever we have to get everything ready for the staffing. I would be very, very happy if we could have that number, the 450, be a 0 on the 5th of the month and have everybody have everything uploaded in the required period of time. So if you can, just make sure you're getting that done this week. And the next row is the CBO, the completion status, completion documentation needs uploaded. So we have 11 customers who have exited either unsuccessfully or successfully, and they are missing some sort of documentation and they cannot be moved to the green or red rows yet. So please go in and make sure you're getting the required documentation for your customers uploaded. For unsuccessful customers, all it needs is a 2151A marked as complete uploaded. And for our hired by employer customers, they need their employer information included in the completion status section of the progress page, and they need a 2151A marked as complete. If you have any issues getting that employer verification information, DHS has requested that you reach out to them, send them a case note and email, and let them know that this customer has obtained employment, but you're having difficulty getting employment verification from the customer, and they will work with you to help you get that information. And if you have any issues with that, just make sure to email epic@illinoisworknet.com, and we'll help facilitate all of that. So do you guys have any questions on the enrolled dashboard?
Kelsey has a question about regarding employed customers. How long do we need to get verification for? 1 stub a quarter. The verification, excuse me, the verification is during the 90-day retention period. So if you can get the 90th day one, that's great. But if you're collecting them along the way during that first 3 months, that first 90 days, that's wonderful.
Alrighty, so the next dashboard we're going to go over is the Istep dashboard. And so the Istep has 3 sections. It has the personal development, the career planning, and the academic and technical training sections. And each of these sections has a status of on track, off track, or complete. So if you have a customer who's falling behind in a specific section, we need to make sure that we're marking them as off track, and we're noting that they're not getting done the activities that have been assigned to them in the Istep. If a customer does not need any steps or has completed all the steps in a specific section, you can go in and mark them as complete. So when we go in and look at everything, we know that you are done with that customer, or they just didn't need steps to begin with, and that's why it's empty. So for the personal development, we have 776 customers with no steps identified. Not all customers will need personal development steps. Just make sure if they don't, you are going in and marking them as complete. And if they do, make sure you're going in and getting them added. You can keep them marked as not started until they do start that program, but that way we know that you've assessed the customer and do know that they have some type of personal development steps they need, and you are planning on working with them in that area. For the career planning section, we have 253 customers who do not have a target occupation selected. You do that in the review information section of the career planning tab. You go in and you edit that section, and you can scroll down to the very bottom, and that is where you can put in the customer's target occupation, and you will find that information on their application and based off of conversations you've had from them where their target occupation is. We also have 136 customers with no steps identified. You guys did a really good job going in and getting a lot of these steps added. This number has went down quite a bit since our last webinar, so thank you very much for doing that. A majority of our customers, almost every single customer, should have some type of career planning step in their Istep. I There may be one or two rare reasons why a customer doesn't need any steps, but for the most part, every single customer should have a step in here. So please make sure you're going in and getting steps added for these customers, even if they're not being engaged in them right now. You can mark them as not started so we know that you are planning on working with them in that area. For the academic and technical training section, we have 218 customers who do not have steps. So we need to make sure we're going in and adding the academic and technical training steps the customer is going to be working in. Not all customers will have academic and technical training steps if they are pre-employment only customers, but that is just a very small amount of our customers that fall within that category, so this number should not be as high as it is now. So just make sure you guys are going in and getting their ISTEP information added. And I do want to cover the importance of the ISTEP because this is what Tammy is going to look at, and we're going to look at when we are determining the pay and what you guys got accomplished and matching that up with the benchmark report. So it is really important that you're going in and adding in all the steps and activities you're doing with your customers to the ISTEP, because this is what we're going to be looking at. So if you have a customer who participated in an EPIC training program, you need to make sure you're adding that to the academic and technical training, putting in the start and end dates and the credentials earned and all of that information in there. Because when we go in and look at your benchmark report or talk to you and you guys say that you have so many customers completed this, we're going to come and look at the ISTEPs and make sure that you have all those customers marked as completed in their ISTEP. So please, please, please make sure you're using the ISTEP to the best of your ability and filling that out completely and fully. And it looks like we do have some questions on the ISTEP.
Nancy is saying, what does the complete line item represent?
The complete line item, Nancy, that's on each section, and that means that the customer has completed this section of their ISTEP, or for like the personal development section, it means they're complete and they don't need any steps. So if a customer doesn't need any transportation or any type of personal development steps, it would be marked as complete. But this is the status of the overall section, not of each step, because you can also go in and mark each step as a successful or unsuccessful completion.
So then, as a follow-up, Jonathan is saying, I have a customer that had no steps needed under personal development. I marked that section as complete but they still show up in the list of no steps identified. Is that working as intended?
Yes, Jonathan, that is working as it is supposed to. So when I go in and click on that one customer that has no steps, I will automatically see in their status right above that you have marked them as complete and that they don't need any steps. But it is still going to identify which customers don't have any steps regardless of their status.
And then Nancy is following up and says, I have 0 on academic technical. That doesn't sound correct.
You have 0 on the complete or 0 on the no steps identified? So have you went in and marked the academic and technical training as complete in that status section for any customers? Because that's why it would be saying 0 is if you haven't marked that status as complete.
I can talk you through it.
Okay, yeah, and Nancy, we can also look at that offline. I can go in and see what you have for some of your customers, and we'll make sure that it is working right for you. All right, do we have any other questions on the ISTEP? All righty. Well, I am done for this moment. I will be back later to go over some other things, but I'll turn it over to Dee so she can go over some of the updates and other agenda items.
All right, so let's see. We'll give you just a moment to check in here since we had that covered up. And what I want to show you are some updates that we've just done. And so we'll start out with, we'll start out with this. We did our first technical assistance, and thank you to those agencies who allowed us to use them as guinea pigs. And as a follow-up, we were talking about we needed a flow chart to kind of help you guys through a couple of these steps. So we're going to finalize this, but I wanted to show you right now what we have going on. So this is a test person, and what we've done is we've said, okay, here's what you have to do, here's when you have to do it, and what happens if you don't, kind of thing. But these don't have all of the instructions. It's just more like go here, go there, go there. And then we did, I actually put some information in a page for a customer, and I have the arrows. So the clock starts based on the appointment date. Then within 48 hours, you need to upload a services initiated, meaning that they attended orientation. So here I have a note, customer attended orientation. Then if your assessment process, I know a couple of you have a longer assessment process. So what we want to do is within a 10 business days of that initial intake orientation appointment, we need to have assessment completed. And that document would upload. Now, from there, if you have that delayed process, many of you have a same-day kind of assessment process. So if either or, one or the other, then the next step is you go to enrollment. And the customer is either going to be rejected within that 10-day time period, or they're going to be enrolled within that 10 business day time period. And so we have the time period here. Once you enroll the customer, it opens up the Istep, and then you upload a customer initial plan with acceptable progress because they haven't done anything wrong yet. So we upload it with their acceptable progress and what the plan is. And many of you, I have shown the worksheets. So if you can create a template for all of your programs, then this will be really easy for you to complete or create that initial 2151A. And then monthly, every time between the 1st and the 5th of the month, just as Olivia said, you need to update or upload a 2151A for anybody who's going to require a staffing. And those people who were marked ineligible by DHS during the previous month still require a status update. And then during the 90-day employment retention period, status updates are still required. And those documents, all of those 2151As, are all included in the staffing packet. And as we talk to the offices from not Cook County, the quarterly system, unless you are already doing a monthly staffing process, we would want to try to start implementing that. So use this to your advantage. And we will be uploading this to the Epic Partners resource page, and we will send out an email with the link as soon as we have this document completed. In addition, Tammy and I were talking about leaving a copy of this with you when we come do your technical assistance opportunities, your appointments for that. So that's the progress page flow chart. Job retention step. One of the things that I noticed that many of you might be missing, and I'm going to go to reports, and I'm going to go to the CBO benchmark report. And I just had a conversation earlier today with one of the agencies that couldn't figure out why their number wasn't showing up. And one of the things that needs to happen is in the retained employment for 90 or 150 days, one of the steps that you need to do in the career services is add those job retention services. because you're going to be touching base with those customers during that 90-day follow-up period to see if they need any supportive services, to see how they're doing on their job, to see if they need any refreshers with those workplace skills, all of that stuff that happens during job retention. So here we have to have them marked in an enrollment training program, permanently employed for 90 days or 150 non-consecutive days, marked as successfully completed and hired by an employer 30 hours per week, and they have to have successfully completed the job retention services step in their I-step. So if you guys are not showing your people in the right section or in this line and they have completed the 90 days, then you just need to make sure that you have that retention services step completed. So Kelsey's asking, so for each completed customer, we need to open an I-step and close it. You should have opened the I-step when they first started. It's not a now, you need to. It's if they got employed, they need to have had an I-step opened up. And you should have done that a long time ago when you first enrolled them. Every time the customer gets enrolled, that opens up their I-step, and you need to add their steps. And if you need help with that, well, it depends. Kelsey asked, so in general, any steps. And it all boils down to if they're doing academic, if they're doing GED or ABE or an actual training, then you need to add that, and then whatever career services steps, which job retention would be one of them. TABE would be one. I would say Employment 101 should be one of them. Optimal Resume should be one of them. You should also now be giving people the NOCTI test as they're finishing up, because so many of the early people are done, they never took it. So that's 5 steps right there, 6 with the academic. So yes, if you want your people to count on the benchmark report, you need to have I-steps opened for everybody. So Nancy's saying, how can they receive services if they are marked ineligible since they received a job? Tammy, I opened up your microphone, so if you want to answer her about that. And then the second part of her question is, if someone is hired part-time, it doesn't count. They have to have more days if they're hired part-time. Tammy, do you want to answer the question about the ineligible to receive services?
Sure. DHS's policy allows for you to continue services, retention services, even if they're ineligible for 90 days after employment. So you can still provide, if they come into you and for some reason need transportation to get to work, you can still offer those services to them for up to 90 days after employment. So that is part of, what you guys should be doing. Even if they're ineligible, you should still be going and making sure that they have whatever services they need to maintain that job. And that is part of DHS policy also.
All right. And then how do we record in the I-step if the customer refuses retention services?
Well, they may not all necessarily need retention services, but what you should be doing is following up with them and verifying that they still are employed. So at the end of the 90 days, and Dee's going to go through this on how to do that completion steps, but you should still be following up, and verifying their employment. Like I said, once again, documentation is if you have the work numbers, one source, the other source is pay stubs from the customer, or by utilizing the employer verification form, the 30, I'm not sure the number, but if utilizing that, and if they sign that, you can reach out to the employer and get verification of that. And we are trying to see if we can do a link with IDES to get wage data so that we can get that information. That, however, is, as you guys, most of you know, that's 3 months behind that data is. So, even once you do employment, you still need to follow up and verify employment, retention, and also help with any retention services they need.
All right, so Kelsey is saying, wait, transportation is a funded service and we were told not to offer financial assistance once they are ineligible. So reiterate, Tammy, about the 90 days we can provide supportive services even if they're ineligible during that 90-day retention
for
period.
retention purposes. for retention purposes, correct. Now, you can't put them in another training program or, any academic or those types of services, but anything that's a retention service to keep them employed, that's available.
So you can ignore the generated case note that comes up when someone is ineligible. You still have to stay within your $1,000 limit. You still have to mark it, and it would end up going into their Istep as a note.
And once again, it's just retention services, so you're not going to be doing any like academic training or anything. It's just going to, if they come in and need something, assistance to help them, to get to the job, that's the point of this, is that, even if they're ineligible, you have 90 days of retention services you can offer. And we can get that. I'll get the actual policy from DHS. We can provide that to you guys.
We'll hold off on sending out the minutes from this until Tammy can get the policy and get it to Olivia for the, what am I trying to say? For the notes as follow-up. Okay. I think I answered all the questions. And Kelsey asked, NOCTI is still not required. It's highly suggested that you use this. In hindsight, we should have required it, and we should have required Employment 101, and we should have required at least a portion of Optimal Resume, but many of you do use systems that do very good workplace skills. So in the future, if we do a program like this, we'll have to change that requirement piece there. Okay, exiting exempt customers who are not being engaged. So that is under, let's go to a dashboard. Let's go to enrolled. And are you, Olivia, were you thinking no progress or minimal progress on these people?
Yes.
Okay, so we don't really have anybody in there on test. Let's, I'm just going to pick this test customer that's in acceptable progress. So on the progress page, if they are, I don't want to mess up blue-black. I'm sorry, I'm working with blue-black for that demonstration, so I've got to go back to a different customer, sorry. Do you want to talk about case noting while I'm trying to find an appropriate customer?
Yes. So we had a meeting with DHS on Monday, and they had asked us to go over this with you. So for case notes, and this is not required, this is just recommended and preferred if you could do this to make it easier for when we're looking through big reports of customers, we can easily see communication between CBOs and DHS. But DHS would like if the CBOs could leave their case notes on the customer's progress page, and DHS will leave their case notes on the customer's profile page. I don't know if any of you guys have had to go in and export a list of your customers, but that export includes the last case notes left on all those pages. And so by doing this, this will allow DHS to be able to easily export a list of customers and see if DHS left a note for the CBO to do some action, then DHS can see easily on the progress page column the last case note that CBO left to follow up with that with DHS, so they can make sure there's nothing they need to do on their end, or if they need to let their staff know that, hey, the CBO has said something and left a case note and we haven't followed up, can you please do that? But like I said, that's not required. I know you all have a little different ways that you use those case notes and everything. We are just encouraging it to help out with DHS having to go through all of their massive reports.
So to repeat that again, DHS will do most of their case notes on the profile section, and we ask that the CBOs do most of their case notes on the progress page. And then you will be able to see in numerical order or date order on the actual case note page answers to each other without having to go back and forth. Kelsey's correct about profile case notes show up as well, but what we're talking about is in the export report, the last case note is what is most important. So if we're having a conversation back and forth, if the DHS admin team is taking a look at those exported Excel spreadsheets, they can see who sent what last case note. And only in the event of somebody uploading a document and having the automatic case note, then it will be there. The problem, Kelsey, is that the case note section cannot be fixed yet because we have other priorities to allow you to select which section of the customer's file the case note will go to. So they automatically go to the profile page if you add a case note from the case note section. And we've talked about this on numerous webinars. All right, I found an exempt customer here, so what I want to show you is if a customer is exempt or becomes exempt while you are working with them and they are not being engaged, as long as their eligibility status is in this yellow bar, then you go down to the completion section, you mark them as completed and, as did not complete, and then you mark them as dropped out of program. You upload a 2150, I'm not going to save this because I don't want to mess up the other piece. Then you upload a 2151A form that says, hopefully this will open right up. I'm using Mozilla and I normally use Chrome. And you would mark it as completed, program completed, and down here on the third page you would write a case note to the effect of why the customer is no longer participating. Copy that and it becomes a case note as well. All right, Nancy says we have an exempt person who says they want to participate, so we are leaving it open for him to do so. Is that correct? Yes, 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 yes. Anybody who is exempt is welcomed to participate in EPIC, but we just want you to know how to exit them if they are not participating and they are exempt. Okay. Now I want to show you completion information. So completing customer completion status instructions. So I'm right here on our handy-dandy EPIC Pilot resources page, and this is all of the EPIC files that you could ever want or need. And the one that I want to point out to you right now today is the customer completion status instructions, formerly exit. So I'm going to pop that open. It comes up into a PDF, and on here it tells you everything you've ever wanted to know, and that's the wrong upload, so I have to re-upload that. It didn't take, Olivia. So anyway, what it has in here is all of the steps that you need to do. So let me open it up from my files here. This is the actual document. We will make sure that this gets uploaded today. It is hopefully in the download pod. We changed directions on page 6. So here you can see all of the different statuses that you would work with, identifying customers. So in the completion section, we have on page 6, where was I? Page 6, how to update a EPIC customer's completion status. There's all of the information here. And then we also have this document right here that will open up. Let me open that one. That was the one that was old that I opened. Here we go. It's not old, it was correct. But this document as well tells you everything that you need to know about finishing the forms for having a customer be complete. This one's correct, Olivia. I was looking for the other document, and that was the progress page document.
Yeah,
so,
okay. That's what I thought.
I got myself confused. It's not too hard to do these days. Okay, so that is it for me. Olivia, do you have anything else that you want to talk about? We have had some updates. I think we talked about those at the last webinar. Our next webinar is August 16th. Put it in your calendar now. We do have the Ready for Review is now live. So please, please, please use your staffing packets. And then the DHS offices can now check the people, because once you finish the packet, then you can use the Ready for Review. 2151A uploads are due by the 5th. We want to reiterate that. Last month we had one agency that still had 46 due on the 31st of the month. So please don't make us call you about this. And yes, so all of the documents that are in the file pod are all documents that need to be used when we're working on different items. So the new document is at the very bottom. It's the EPIC progress page, final copy. All right, so quick question for Tammy. Is the cost request function back open? Ooh, people are typing in, it's moving on me. Back open in GRS? This may have been answered earlier. I got here a few minutes late.
Not yet, and I haven't heard yet from accounting. I know all of the WIO are up, but we're still waiting on EPIC to go through, the move to the new program year. So as soon as I hear something, I can definitely put a broadcast out for everybody.
All right. Question concerning clients in ineligible status, staffed every month or the month they go ineligible. Unfortunately, they have to be staffed until DHS at least one more month after they're marked ineligible. After that, you need to say, well, if they're ineligible, why am I staffing them? You need to stand up to DHS on that one. And then the document, okay, so Kelsey's asking about the incident reporting. There's one for workplace violence, and there's one for sexual documents. So there's two different ones, and they're noted in the restricted resources about which one is which. A yelling customer, unless they're yelling obscenities at you, I don't know that. If they're just yelling, they're yelling. But if they're being inappropriate, then that would be the workplace violence one. Autumn, have we really cut down on referrals? My biggest area, Jackson County, has not sent me a referral in 6 months. Yeah, I've heard that from quite a few of the offices. We're going to bring that up with the DHS offices. I had one person, Eric from Homework Hangout down in Decatur hadn't had anybody since May. So that is, we need to get back on DHS. They think that they're going to be done at the 5,000, but we're going to be continuing. So.
Well, indeed, we don't know that yet. There's a conversation that we're having with FNS, and DHS is the lead on that. So they're discussing with DHS different options once we meet that 5,000 mark, and then that will be decided between by DHS and then our evaluation team and FNS what the next steps are. But there's still funds available. So, like I said, we actually have a meeting this week with all of those individuals to determine what's going to happen after we get to that 5,000.
All right. All right. Anybody else have? We're at about 47 something. I think when I checked the other day, it was 4682, something like that. So we're getting really close.
And I just wanted to remind everybody to submit success stories in the EPIC Partner webpage, or sorry, send them to the epic@illinoisworknet.com email. But we definitely want to make sure we're getting in as many success stories as we can.
Okay. All right. Kelsey, I will try to call you in a few minutes, and you still have Nellie still has 2 DHS agencies she has not been able to staff for the last 2 months. I've sent emails with no response. What can I do? We'll make sure that we tell that to, if you can send Olivia who they were, and then copy, it's deidre.wesley@illinois.gov. I think Olivia's keyboard went haywire there. So copy us and Deidre Wesley on who you have not been able to staff with. All right, anything else? Then we're going to end the webinar for today, and we hope you have a great rest of your week. Please be sure to call us if you have any questions or concerns. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.